So when you got into the flak, um, it was probably shuttering the plane. Um, was it? It was black, and there's a lot of commotion going on. You saw the hole behind the oxygen rack,
Yeah, that's the first thing I
and
see.
you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And was that a hole in the fuselage? You could
was
see
a hole,
daylight.
a hole right in the side of the airplane.
Wow.
And it was a big hole.
And is the oxygen rack, is that in the?
It's on the right side of the bomb bays.
Okay.
Like the bomb bays is right here, and the plane, where the oxygen rack was on the right side.
Got it.
And bottles of oxygen.
And was there communication happening between you guys on the radio?
Well, I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
I don't remember hearing anything when we got in that real. It just happened all at one time. It's just we got to put this in perspective. I was looking out here, watching those Fox Bulls over there.
Mm-hmm.
Or ME-109 is what they were. And all of a sudden, this plane, I think the next thing that got me, when this plane started flat spinning.
So you had gotten hit, and then this report says from the other pilots in the group, they said you had gotten hit on the left side between engine 1 and 2.
Hit on the left side, yeah.
And then the plane dropped out of formation in control. In control, but was losing altitude. And so, was it training that if you got hit and you were full of bombs, that you needed to leave the formation because they didn't want you to blow the whole formation up?
Well,
Do you know?
That might have been something.
But the other pilot said that you left, you dropped out of formation and veered to the right. But they said with all the engines were working, but that you dropped and then went to the right. And so there were several pilots that had watched that, but then you were losing altitude, and then they lost sight of you and they continued on. And what had happened is that Peterson Lamb, the front, so the first 3 planes got a bulk of that flak.
Yeah.
In fact, the first plane, the lead plane, the commander of that flight, they had to ditch and they landed on a beach, actually a minefield in England. 1 plane bailed out in the channel, so 3 planes were lost out of your formation that day. And so yours dropped out. And so tell me about you're inside your compartment and what happened. Did you tell me what happened?
I can remember that too. Kind of creepy. The first thing I remember was that plane kind of dipped down first. It must have went in and started spinning right then, flat spin. Sandy said we was flying at bomb at 21,000 feet was just about right.
That's right.
And I have no idea I've turned this over my mind many times. I have no idea how long it took, how fast this plane, when it went into a flat spin. Well, let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
They must have been, when the guys up front, the navigator and the bombardier, the co-pilot, and Sandy, they must have found their way out and got out of there in a hurry.
Did Sandy come back to you and say, "Get out"?
Nobody did.
Okay.
I think those guys got out. Now, just from what I know about the co-pilot, he was always scared to death anyway. I figure he jumped out of there, got out of there as soon as he could, and I think the other guys followed him.
Yeah, Sandy said that Atkinson was probably the first guy to bail out.
Right.
And because Sandy was right behind, he's just like, he's like, we got hit, and then he went down, but because he's right there behind the pilots,
Yeah.
and he went down, and Atkins was gone.
Yeah.
And then George was flying the plane, but he was hit. And then he didn't have the opportunity to go into the nose, but he said the nose was hit. He said that the firewall in between the pilots and the front of the plane, that had taken a hit, and so you got hit in multiple places. So behind the oxygen bottle, so you saw that.
No, I didn't know all this.
But the firewall got hit, the pilot got hit, the front of the nose got hit, and the in between 1 and 2 engine got hit. So the other pilots that were in the formation, they said they saw this. They didn't know what was going on inside the plane, but they could see that you guys were in trouble, and that but you were in control when you left, and then they lost sight of you. And that ended the witness statements from what they could see from the Air Force side of life. And then Sandy, from his witness statement, he said that he had gone down. Atkinson was gone. George was there, but he'd been hit, and there was and then he went. And in his statement here, he said that he was over the bomb bay trying to get his parachute on because he had a hard time walking around with that parachute on. In the first place, it was just bulky, but he's trying to put that first one on, and the plane lurched, and he dropped his parachute at the bomb bay. So he went up to the nose of the plane. He's like, hey, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die with George. And so he walked up, back up, and the pilot had left. Do you know anything about this? So
I don't understand what you just said about Sandy about dropping the parachute at the bomb bay.
So when they interviewed him, he had said that he had dropped his parachute out the bomb bay.
You only have one of them. What do you do? How do you jump? How do you get out?
He took George's.
No, he took George's
he did
parachute.
Because what had happened is that George was injured. He was wounded.
Yes.
And so when he had walked back up, George was trying to leave, and he had collapsed because he had lost so much blood. And then Sandy got up there, and Sandy was prepared to die with George because he didn't want to leave George. And he had actually talked about flying the plane. He's just like, I'd thought about going in to somehow fly the plane. But
I can stop right there. I'm going to tell you something right there. Can I say something right there?
Absolutely, because I wasn't there. That's why I'm here.
There wasn't a soul that could ever fly that airplane.
Okay.
The controls that went back, the controls that controlled the horizontal stabilizer, the rudder, all those things, normally was on a bulk right down the top of the airplane, right straight down. That was anchored there by the anchors. When I looked around, when that plane was in a flat spin, and I was trying to figure out just what am I going to do here. You couldn't walk. Now, this is when the plane was spinning. You couldn't walk. You couldn't stand up. You understand? You had to get on your knees and you had to crawl because there was no way you could stand up. I turned around and those controls, I think one of them as big as your finger. There's cables were broken and just coiled up right in the middle around that floor right there.
Got it.
Between me and that hatch. That was just one of the several things I had to go through to get over there. I was stepping on cartridge. I was on some of those shells that I put out there, and then let's see. I would disconnect myself from
the electric heaters and
I
oxygen.
got off the heaters. I got off the oxygen. And I guess I turned over my mind if I was below the anoxia zone of anoxia, but it didn't make any difference. But when I got pointed towards the hatch, I had to crawl over those things with a parachute on, crawl over those things, and that's where, in that time there, in that area, I don't know how far I was, but I stopped, and I stopped to think, am I going to burn up? What am I going to do? Am I going to feel this? Am I going to burn up?
Mm.
And I thought, well, what would my mother think?
Mm.
From then on, it was something besides somebody pulled me over there, and I got to the hatch and give it a jerk. It didn't open up. Fergie and Bone, Fergie and Hanson was out of the ball. That's the first thing. They were right there on the right, and I don't know what they was going to do. What they were really doing.
Were they just trying to get ready to get out?
They was kind of just hunkered there. So I pulled that hatch and it went just about open about that far. Wouldn't open before more. So then I thought, well, this was all the time was in that flat spin. So I decided to see if I could turn over. So I did turn over, and that's another thing. In them days, I was 165 pounds, and I was strong because I made sure I was strong.
Right.
So I turned over in a way so that I got my left foot up there to the leg, had more strength in my arms. So I pushed on it, and the first thing happened, it snapped my boot off, just boom, like that. The boot went first, just like that.
Wow.
And all the time, this plane was full tilt going toward down. Over and over and over. The engine sounded like they was running wide open to me. And I finally got my leg around just a certain way, and I got out a little bit more. And when I got out just a little farther, it pulled me right out of there. Just pulled me out just jerked me.
Just sucked you out.
Right now.
And did you know it at that time had Ferguson and
They
Hanson?
were right there.
They were there with you?
They were right there beside of me.
And did they go out the same hole as you did?
Well, they had to.
Okay.
They had no choice. If they went out all, they had to go that way. So I went out there and pulled that ripcord. So.
And you're doing this for the first time. You'd never jumped out of a plane before. Which I find crazy.
I looked up, pulled a ripcord up that morning, and I looked up and I seen, I don't know, I was looking for the guardian angel who pulled me out of that airplane.
Mm.
Instead, I seen a 28-foot of nylon in the morning sky. I was thinking, boy, what a beautiful sight. But I didn't think what was right in there below me.
So at what altitude do you think you were at when you did this?
You know, that's a good question. I've turned that over my mind several times. I don't know. I don't know what speed that plane was going down in the flat spin. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Do you got any idea how much time I had left?
So you were 2 minutes. So in the navigational charts that I've seen, you were 2 minutes away from bomb drop. Your crash site in comparison to Humere is really close. And what I can tell you is I found an eyewitness, a person that was a 13-year-old boy that was on the ground. He watched your plane fall out of the sky.
He did.
He did, and he told me the story. So I'll tell you that story in a second. But I've got actually 4 eyewitnesses of your So I went back to the town, and they're there.